I want to unify the pool industry through consolidation and bringing professionalism to the pool industry. Earlier, I mentioned the chuck in a truck. In our industry, we call them one polers, or a guy that will show up, and he's not really a pool pirate. He's there to do a great job, but he's gonna jump out of the truck, rip jeans, wife beater, cigarette in his hand, or maybe a joint in his hand, walking into a customer's backyard. I'm not even making that up. And it's just, it gives our whole industry a bad look. And to help those guys who are masters in their craft but not masters on the business side, bring those guys up and help them become more professional, and not do some of the many horror stories that I've heard, both personally and through the various groups that I either run or am a part of.
Heroes are an inspiring group of people. Every one of them, from the larger-than-life comic book heroes you see on the big silver screen, to everyday heroes that let us live the privileged lives we do. Every hero has a story to tell. From the doctor saving lives at your local hospital, to the war veteran down the street who risked his life for our freedom, to the police officers and the firefighters who risk their safety to ensure ours. Every hero is special and every story worth telling. But there is one class of heroes that I think is often ignored: the entrepreneur, the creator, the producer. The ones who look at the problems in this world and think to themselves, you know what, I can fix that. I can help people. I can make a difference. Then they go out and do exactly that by creating a new product or introducing a new service. Some go on to change the world. Others make a world of difference to their customers. Welcome to the Hero Show. Join us as we pull back the masks on the world's finest heropreneurs and learn the secrets to their powers, their success, and their influence, so you can use those secrets to attract more sales, make more money, and experience more freedom in your business. I'm your host, Richard Matthews, and we are on in 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome back to the Hero Show. My name is Richard Matthews, and today I have the pleasure of having on a good friend of mine, Mr. Derrick Todd. Derrick, you there?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. So just for people who are following along with our podcast, we were staying at Derrick's house for several of our podcast recordings last year. Now we are actually in California, and you guys are back in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, we're in Greenville, other side of the country.
Other side of the country now, which I'm sure we'll be back together at hanging out again at some point. But I want to do a couple of brief introduction things for my audience who may or may not know you. So Derrick Todd is the founder of Aquanut Academy, and he just recently, in the last year, sold his pool care business that he built up over to 7 figures with his wife over the last 13 or 14 years that you built that company?
13 years. Yep.
13 years. You sold it last year, and you guys moved on to a 40-foot sailing yacht and started traveling around that way, which is similar to our future plans. So, anyways, what I want to have you start with, Derrick, is why don't you tell me what it is that you guys are known for now? What's your business like? Who do you serve? What do you do for them?
Well, what I'm known for now, and probably what I've been known for a while, is building traditional businesses, traditional mom and pop businesses. And I'm known for being a master pool technician. So as far as my business, the pool industry, is pretty much nothing that I don't know about that. But what I've done that is unique among my colleagues is I've actually built a business instead of just being a chuck in a truck type of deal. There's nothing wrong with that, but I've built a business around that, and I've been able to make that a very, very successful business. So that's what I'm known for.
Yeah, so and that's talking specifically in the service industry, not just being a service technician, but building a service tech business that is, serving your community, has several employees, and a retail store presence and the whole bit.
Right.
Awesome. And so what I want to start with then is your origin story, right? We talk on this show all the time, which I know you've listened to it several times. Every good comic book hero has an origin story. It's the thing that made them into the hero they are today. We want to hear that story. Were you bit by a radioactive spider that made you want to get into pool care, or did you start in a job and eventually move over into becoming an entrepreneur? Basically, where'd you come from?
All right. Well, it actually goes a little further back than when I got into the pool business. Uh, so the whole mentoring side of it, the coaching side of it, actually started in 1999 when I met a guy named Mike, and Mike was the first real father figure mentor to me that kind of took me under his wing, and he basically shook off all of the rust. He took this clump of clay and actually molded it into somebody or something that wanted to learn, absorb knowledge, and from that, I started mentoring other people in a completely different business model. And then in 2002, 2003, something like that, I actually got started in the pool industry working for another company in Columbia, South Carolina, a big pool builder, and they just did a little bit of service work. Worked there for a year and a half, 2 years, and then started my own gig in 2008, and
Nice.
that's what brings us
And
full circle.
only because I know you really well, I want to bring this up because it's similar to my story. And my podcast listeners know I got my start in business buying candy wholesale and selling it on campus retail. And I know you had a similar start, but you were selling, I think, cigarettes on campus as a high schooler. Is that right?
um, I did do that in high school. That wasn't my first business, but that was my first profitable, like
Like
lucrative.
entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah, I do not. I do not recommend that path. Yeah, that I was the number one cigarette salesman in my high school. I had
That cracks me up every time I hear it.
I had I had I would buy cases of of not cartons, cases, and then I would distribute the cartons to people who would go sell the cigarettes for me throughout the course of the day. I don't know if we should be talking about
So,
this.
so here's my question. I want to know, did any of the skills you picked up in high school selling cigarettes illicitly translate into skills you actually used for a real business later on in your life?
Yeah, there was there was my first employees, my first I guess you can call them 1099 subcontractors.
Contractors?
So I had to source product, I had to distribute product, I had to manage a team.
It's like all sorts of good skills that translated. So,
Uh,
oh man,
uh,
it's quite an origin story for go from there all the way to running a seven figure pool business and being sort of an icon in your community. I remember when we were staying in your town, everywhere we went, if every time I was with Derrick, they'd be like, "Oh, hey Derrick, I know." Like literally everyone knew you. It was weird, and it like Greer's not a small town either. But when you run a successful business in a community, you become one of the community pillars, which is a cool thing to be.
yeah, absolutely.
So I want to find out about your superpowers, right? Every iconic hero has a superpower, whether that's a fancy flying suit made by their genius intellect or the ability to call down thunder from the sky, um, or super strength. In the real world, heroes have what I call a zone of genius, which is either a skill or a set of skills you were born with or developed over the course of your career that really energize all of your other skills. Right? They're the things that allow you to slay your clients' villains and help them come up on top in their journeys. And the way I like to frame it for my guests is if you look at all the skills that you have, there's probably a common thread that tie them all together, right? And that common thread is where you find your superpower. So, with that sort of framing, what do you think your superpower is in your business?
The ability to start and build businesses. I've owned I think it's 15 businesses. It might be 16 now. Um, only about I don't know, half a dozen of those actually were LLC businesses, but I've built a lot of businesses, and the ability to take a business from nothing, from an idea on a napkin to profitable is probably my zone of genius. Um, it sounds weird when I phrase it that way. And then the flip side of that, we talked earlier about me managing a team. I've learned how to manage a team over time through various ventures and different things that I've done. My
Making all the
first
mistakes in the book, right?
yeah my first mentor, that was a multi-level marketing deal. I built a team there, and being able to run that business with that team, and then ultimately running the large team that I built with the business that I just sold. I don't know, what was it, about a year ago now, actually, getting close to a
Crazy how
year ago.
crazy how time flies, isn't it?
Wow, seems like just
So
yesterday.
with the skill of building business, what do you think some of the I don't know how to phrase this, the things that people who are looking to build their business, like the skills that they should be focusing on, that looking back on you wish you had learned to focus on earlier when you were building your businesses?
Probably outsourcing, finding what you suck at, and letting somebody else do what you suck at. Because everything that you suck at, there's somebody else out there that is great at that. And everybody has things that they're really good at and they're not good at. So focusing on the things that you are good at, and the things that just takes you hours to do and whatnot.
Suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how did learning that lesson impact your ability to grow your businesses?
It cost me a couple of years of of working and really having to work a second job while I got my business off of the ground, because I was so bullheaded and stubborn that it I don't know. It probably I probably could have built the same size business 5 years faster. So instead of taking 13 years to build it to this seven-figure company that I built it, I probably could have done it in seven.
Yeah, yeah. And so it cost you years. Now, my other question is, did it cost you years on the other side of your life where you're like, my life's gonna be shorter because you stressed yourself out too much?
Probably, yeah. In all seriousness, there was times where I was working 90 hours per week. I was running and gunning, and I had two, for lack of a better word, heat strokes on customers' properties, where the first one I had to be rushed to the ER, and that's just all a process of thinking that you have to take on every single job that is offered to you, and not knowing where to trim. So there's customers that you want, customers that want you, and then customers, that you don't want, and they don't want you, but you have to figure that out. And the customers that want you might not be good for your business. So everybody that says, "Hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars to do this job for me," you have to start you have to be able to say no. I don't know if start saying no, maybe it is, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's where I had to
You
get.
have to learn how to say what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Yeah.
And I know I've learned the same thing in my business. I have to learn on what to focus on and what, the stuff, particularly for me, is like what stuff actually lines up with where I want to take the business in the future and what stuff distracts from it. And sometimes that's hard, like, because I've got opportunities that are really big sitting in front of me and really exciting. And I'm like, I don't know if they fit or not. So I'm having some of those discussions right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So the flip side of your superpower is generally your fatal flaw. So if your superpower is building the businesses and knowing what goes into that, the fatal flaw is, like every Superman has his kryptonite, or Wonder Woman can't remove her bracelets of victory without going mad. You probably have something flaw that's held you back. I mean, your business, that something that has you struggled with. For me, it was a couple of things. I struggled with perfectionism for a long time because I could always tweak it a little bit more before I sent it to market, and then I'd never send anything to market. I also struggled with lack of self care. which for me came out in not having good um, relationship with my boundaries to time and my boundaries with my clients and whatnot. So I let my clients walk all over me. I let my time walk all over me, which sounds like you had a similar problem. Um, but I think more important than what the flaw was is how did you work to overcome it so that our listeners might learn a little from your experience?
That's a that's a big one, and it's not something that I'm proud of. Um, and I don't know if I have overcome some of it. Number one, I, I've got a temper. Uh, so it's a temper fueled by passion, I think, or at least I'd like to think. So I'm a little bit hot headed. I've lost some customers over that. Um, I've gotten better over the past 2 decades by surrounding myself with some really good people and reading a lot of really good books. Like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I have literally read that book and listened to it dozen times at least. Um,
I love
and
that book.
yeah,
It
it's
should be required reading in school. I don't understand why it isn't.
mm, yeah, I've got my theories, but it definitely wasn't for me. I didn't even know that book existed until I started getting mentors in my life. Another fatal flaw is probably laziness. Um, and I'm also on the flip side of that, I am a workaholic. So whenever I start a job, I'll go until I pass out. And you've actually seen this because we were working on, I don't know if we were working on your RV or something, and I just grabbed whatever it was. Maybe it was the AC or whatnot, and we just went and went and went, and we were sweating and we were getting it done. And I'll just laser focus on it until it's either fixed or I drop. Um,
You die on the roof. Yeah, I remember that. I was like, hey, we should take a break and go eat lunch. You're like, no, we're going to finish it. I was like, no, we're going to get down and take a break.
um, and the laziness aspect of it. Whenever I sold my business, so I sold my business, moved on to this beautiful 44-foot sailing yacht with my family, and all of that go 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 that I had running my business, and the I want to be out there and I want to be doing it. All of that was gone. So it was I had nothing. I had nothing to hold me accountable. So it was like it's it goes back to those things. Those who don't know what to do don't do. So that was me, and I kind of fiddled with stuff. I'm working on the boat. I'm doing this and that, but I'm like, oh man, I really need to get my hands dirty again. So maybe that is part of the whole workaholic thing. I'm not sure, but those are my two fatal flaws, and
So I
I don't have
actually,
an answer.
I have a theory on laziness. I actually think laziness is a superpower if applied properly.
Okay.
And so I have the reason I think that is because like a lot of the because like I'm kind of the same way. Like inherently I'm a lazy person, but at the same time I'm also like I will I will work you under a table. Um, and so like if you apply that, like if I use my desire to be lazy to work really hard, then I work really hard on systems that allow me to not have to do those things ever again. Then I'm like, then I can sit back and look at it and be like, look at this beautiful thing that I have made, and it will continue to go without me. So, anyways, I sort of think laziness is a superpower if you apply it properly.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I do the same thing with my kids. Like we get told all the time, they're like, what they're so well behaved. I'm like, that's because we worked our ass off on discipline. It's like because I don't. It's way more difficult to have unruly children than it is to have well behaved children. So really, it's because I'm lazy that we work so hard on discipline.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's just my theory on life. Uh,
Works.
so, so I'm going to shift gears and talk a little bit about your clients. And I think I want to put this in context of other pool care and local business owners that you've started to get into the coaching side of this business. And every superhero has an arch nemesis, right? It's a thing that they have to constantly fight against in their world. It takes on a lot of forms, but in business, we're generally talking about a mindset or a flaw that your clients have that are keeping them from getting the results they come to you for. Right? That if you had your magic wand and you could just, like, as soon as they sounded the dotted line, you could bop them on the head and wouldn't have to deal with that anymore. What is the common enemy for people who are trying to grow like a local service business or retail business, like what you grew up to seven figures?
It's simple. It's their thoughts. Their the negative thoughts in their head is has been one of my biggest challenges in growing this business. Everybody wants my training and coaching. Whenever I put it out there in one of the Facebook groups, they're like, "Yeah, man, that would be great," but they want it for free. And it's like, oh man, I have to pay something, and I'm not asking for a lot. I really want to help the industry, but the thought of, I just want to stay small and I don't want to grow, because if I hire somebody other than just me, well, now that's a whole nother thing, and I have to manage them, and all of a sudden I've got some taxes I have to worry about. My business gets more complex, and those are all things that are going on in their mind. That's really, it's not that big of a deal once you get through it. Yeah, it's scary looking at it, but so was me buying a yacht. I had never owned a yacht, but once I did it, it was way less scary. So the thoughts that are going on in people's mind, it's a little bit of, I can't afford it, and it's a little bit of, I don't need it, but it's a whole lot of, I don't deserve to grow past just me. And if I could just bop them on the head and get that out of their skulls, and open up their minds to, hey, you
It's
can do this.
it's almost like a fear of the unknown, right? Because I'm going to put this in Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant terms, right? When you're just what did you call him, a chuck in the truck? It's like that S type business where they are the business, right? If they go home at night, the business is done. It goes home with them. And making that transition into having a team and growing a larger organization that, you know, you leave, the business continues. That's a B quadrant business, and that's unknown, right? It's a that fear of the unknown, that, like, hey, I don't know what that's actually like. And I know myself, when I made that transition, I started hiring people and putting a team together. It was like a revelation. I was like, oh my god, I should have done this sooner. But it was a fear of the unknown, kept me from doing it for a long time. And I had a mentor who actually pulled me aside and was like, hey, you're your biggest bottleneck in your business, and here's what I want you to do in the next 30 days. Hire someone, even if you don't know how you're going to pay them or what you're going to have them do. Hire them, because it'll change your entire mindset on the business, and you understand afterwards. And I didn't listen to him. I vacillated for 3 months before I hired someone. Then I hired someone, and my whole business changed. And it wasn't until I got on the other side and the perspective shifted to understand, like, oh, this actually opens up a lot more opportunities to grow my business and to serve my customers and to have a higher degree of service. That you're like, oh, I get it now, and it's not actually that scary. It's actually easier.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of technicians in my industry and very few business owners. So that's what I'm
So
fighting against.
So that gives me a good transition for my next question, which is, so your common enemy is what you fight against. Your driving force is what you fight for, right? So just like Spider-Man fights to save New York, or Batman fights to save Gotham, or fights to index and categorize all the world's information. What is it that you're fighting for with Aquanet Academy and the coaching and the training that you offer now?
Two things, really. Number one, I want to rid the world of pool pirates, and we
Pool
can get
pirate. You're gonna have to explain that one.
okay. So a pool pirate is a person or a company that is hell bent on ripping off the pool owner. Um, and they might not even be doing it consciously, but they see the pool business has such a low barrier of entry to get into, that there's just so many chuck in the trucks or one polars, and they'll get stuff, and they'll go out there, and they will go bid a job that they have no business bidding. They don't even know what they're doing, but they see the dollar signs, and they'll bid it. They'll take the deposit. They might actually even show up and do a couple of things and leave and never return the client's phone call. So they've left with the money, and the client's stuck with their problem not fixed, whatever that problem may be. I've actually seen it recently on a couple of pool builds where it was a $30,000 check. The guy came, put a pool shell in, and just left without completing the job. And one of my clients that I'm coaching her, she's going in and she's now finishing the job, finishing up the pool, putting in the pump, the filter, all of that stuff. She's doing that because the pool pirate, who didn't know what he was doing and had no intention of doing a complete job, just left the client stuck. And there's all different levels of that, from somebody who just takes a $200 or $300 deposit and leaves, to someone who actually sells to has a bigger company, but just sells a really really garbage product that should not be on the market. Everybody knows that it shouldn't be on the market. There's a popular one that's advertised all over Facebook, and it's just a garbage product. They're a garbage company. I can't say the name because of libel. um, but yeah, I want to rid the world of pool pirates, now that you know what a pool pirate is.
So that was one thing. You said you did two things: rid the world of pool pirates, and what's the other part of that?
I want to unify the pool industry through consolidation and bringing professionalism to the pool industry. Earlier, I mentioned the chuck in a truck. In our industry, we call them one polars, or guy that will show up, and he's not really a pool pirate. He's there to do a great job, but he's gonna jump out of the truck, ripped jeans, uh, wife beater, cigarette in his hand, or maybe a joint in his hand, walking into a customer's backyard. I'm not even making that up. Uh, and it gives our whole industry a bad look. And to help those guys who are masters in their craft but not masters on the business side, bring those guys up and help them become more professional, um, and not do some of the many horror stories that I've heard, both personally and through the various groups that I either run or am
Yeah,
a part of.
and when you take that step from being a guy who might be a master pool technician, um, but doesn't really have the business acumen to really grow their business, and you sort of add that together with your mastery, then you can serve your clients better. You can make more money, which means you can have more influence in your local space. Like, it gives you a lot of opportunities. And I like the idea of bringing more professionalism to the space, because Hollywood has their picture of the pool industry, and it's always these hot ripped teenage guys without their shirts on, doing the pools. And I don't think that's probably the accurate picture either. But learning how to basically turn what is sort of like a Wild West sort of style business, because like you said, what does it take to get into the pool space? The ability to have a car to drive and to buy a $19 pole that you can scoop stuff out of their pool with. It's really low barrier to entry, so it attracts a lot of people.
Yeah. And those videos that your listeners may have watched at home, those don't happen. I've been looking for 20 years. I haven't found one.
Yep.
In real life.
What is it? I can't remember the name of the stuff, but the soap operas. Soap operas always have the pool boy.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just not reality.
Nope. We have guts. We're bald. Our hands are dirty. We smell like chlorine most of the time.
Yeah. And if you ever have questions about chemistry, you can always call your pool guy because they know.
Yep.
I just called Derrick the other day. I was like, "Hey, I need to put some chlorine in my tank. What do I know?" He's like, "Show me the label."
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I want to talk about some practical things for your business. And just like every superhero has a tool belt with awesome gadgets like their batarangs or web slingers or laser eyes or their big magical hammer. I want to talk about the top 1 or 2 tools you couldn't live without when you were building and growing your business. Could be anything from your notepad, your calendar, to your marketing tools, or something you use for product delivery. A tool that you thought was essential to getting your job done on a daily or weekly basis.
Well, my notepad was definitely my daily thing. I ran my business out of a notepad for a long time, um, before I got some more sophisticated and digital processes in place. But I still use a notepad. I'm using one right now, actually. You
What kind of things did you keep track of in your notepad?
uh, Everything from when a customer called to when I showed up on their property, what I did on their property, when I left their property, what I charged them, everything. I everything was through the notepad. If I had an idea of something that I needed to do, I'd write it down in my notepad, which also doubled as a calendar. Um, so it was a notepad calendar combo. Um, so like if Friday, I know that I need to do something with Mrs. Smith's pool, so I'd go to the Friday page and I'd write that down in the margins or whatnot. So the notepad
Oh,
for sure.
I'm curious because you wrote everything down. Did having all that stuff written down in your notepad ever save your ass?
Oh yeah,
What's your
absolutely.
favorite ass saving story from having all your stuff written down on a notepad?
Oh, I don't know if there's just one, but what will happen a lot in the pool industry, and it, uh, I mean, it's probably every industry, every service based industry is a customer call, Mrs. Smith will call up and like say they'll call my office manager and say, hey, your guy John, I know he was out here, but he didn't clean the pool, and we'll go, yeah, he did, because here's the photo of your pool before he cleaned it, after he cleaned it. Here's the list of what he put in, and yeah, that's just they can't argue whenever you show them proof, um,
Yeah.
and
So
say,
so you guys kept track of all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
So as you got larger, did you have to build processes for your staff to make sure that they were tracking those kind of things?
yeah. At first, it was just everybody got a notepad. I bought notepads for everybody, and I told them exactly what to write down in it. But we got a software that ultimately helped us, because we just got too big for the whole notepad thing, and we needed it fast, because when people would call in, they would talk to the account manager, and the account manager may or may not have talked to John, who was cleaning the the pool in the past couple of hours, but Mrs. Smith wanted to know right then and there what John had did. So with the app that we had, was a whole program, John would be able to do everything on the property, take pictures, put in notes of what he did. And then my account manager immediately had access to that. So as soon as John rolled off the property, he didn't even have to call the office. Mrs. Smith called, "Hey, I don't think John did XYZ," or "John did XYZ." And my office manager or account manager said, "Actually, this is what John did. Here's the photos. Here's the notes. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Smith, we've been trying to get you to fix this problem for the past 6 months, and that's why you're having these issues that we can't fix until you fix this. Would you like us to schedule that now for you?" So
Yeah, so if I'm
lots of
hearing
that.
you right, having some sort of system in place for sort of tracking the work that's being done was a really important tool in your business.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Whether that was notepads as you were a smaller company or a nice big software system as you got larger, something to do that was a really important aspect of growing your service business.
Yes.
Cool.
And now, a quick word from our show's sponsor. Hey there, fellow podcaster. Having a weekly audio and video show on all the major online networks that builds your brand, creates fame, and drives sales for your business doesn't have to be hard. I know it feels that way because you've tried managing your show internally and realize how resource intensive it can be. You felt the pain of pouring 8 to 10 hours of work into just getting 1 hour of content published and promoted all over the place. You see the drain on your resources, but you do it anyways because you know how powerful it is. Heck, you've probably even tried some of those automated solutions and ended up with stuff that makes your brand look cheesy and cheap. That's not helping grow your business. Don't give up though. The struggle ends now. Introducing Push Button Podcasts, a done-for-you service that will help you get your show out every single week without you lifting a finger after you've pushed that stop record button. We handle everything else: uploading, editing, transcribing, writing, research, graphics, publication, and promotion, all done by real humans who know, understand, and care about your brand almost as much as you do. Empowered by our own proprietary technology, our team will let you get back to doing what you love while we handle the rest. Check us out at pushbuttonpodcast.com/hero for 10% off the lifetime of your service with us, and see the power of having an audio and video podcast growing and driving micro celebrity status and business in your niche without you having to lift more than a finger to push that stop record button. Again, that's pushbuttonpodcast.com/hero. See you there. And now, back to the Hero Show.
So I want to talk about your personal heroes a little bit, right? And every hero has their mentors. Just like Frodo had Gandalf, or Luke had Obi-Wan Kenobi, or Robert Kiyosaki had his rich dad, or even Spider-Man had his Uncle Ben. Who were some of your mentors? Were they speakers, authors, peers who were a few years ahead of you? And how important were they to what you have accomplished so far in growing and selling your business and starting your consulting practice?
I've had all of those. And all of those have been instrumental in my life, to get me to the point that I am now. Probably the the keystone person that kind of helped unlock this was the guy that I talked about earlier, Mike. He took a young 19-year-old, 20-year-old kid that was buck wild, just crazy, rutting in heat, buck going crazy, that's just nuts, and grabbed him and said, "Look, I'm going to teach you how to be a human being." And he's like, he gave me books like The Magic of Thinking Big, like Richest Man in Babylon. He gave me Think and Grow Rich, all of these books, and he's like, "You're going to read them." And I'm like, "I don't want to read them." And he's like, "I don't care. You're going to read them." He was the first man that came into my life and said, "You need to do this." And it took me not very long to realize, okay, this is what I've been looking for that I haven't been able to figure out that I actually needed. So from that, I started seeking out and was able to get more mentors. And he was the first. He was probably the keystone. But I have another mentor, a couple of mentors, both named Matt. One called me today, and they kind of picked up the ball from where Mike left off, because Mike got me so far, and then he just couldn't bring me any more, right? And then I got Matt, and Matt picked up the ball and kind of brought me forward and kind of moving me, talking about me as a football, moving me down the field a bit. And then it was only certain amount that Matt could take me, and then I had to start looking for other mentors. I hired a business coach. I still have the business coach. Her name is Beth. I think everybody should have a coach, a mentor, a hero, someone that they aspire to be. I've got a hero in my life now. His name is Daniel. And I can tell you about Daniel. I went to Daniel's house. He lives in a double wide trailer. Okay. Now let me explain that. So I go into Daniel's property the other day because he's like, listen, come by the house, see what I've done with it. Now, Daniel's living in a double wide trailer because he's building his mansion. I go in, I pull up to the gate. I've got the gate code. The gate opens. Me and my family in the van, we drive through this lit tunnel and we roll up to his house. Now his house is 3 stories, and his brother, who is the superintendent on this property, meets me out there, and it looks like they're building a hotel. And he started talking to me about it. He took me up. They're putting the pool on the 2nd story that overlooks this lake. Oh, by the way, his property has a runway, and he's got his own airplane there and his hangar. But here's the kicker that I didn't know. My wife and I are there, and his brother's like, he's pointing up, oh yeah, we're putting the helipad up there. And we're like, helipad? He's like, yeah, we have to have some place to land the helicopters whenever they come in. I'm like, oh, okay. And he says, but we're not sure how we're going to get to it yet. We don't know if we're going to make another staircase or whether we're going to take the elevator that already goes three floors and just make it go up in an extra floor. We haven't figured that out yet. We'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. So those are the people that I'm trying to get as much time with as possible, because they're way further down the road than I am.
I want to know what you think the difference is between a business coach, a mentor, and a hero.
A hero is someone who you aspire to be. I think a hero is someone that you look up to, that is going to be like Daniel. He is a kind of a hero of mine. Elon Musk is a hero of mine because he's done all these great things. He has all these grand ideas and ideas that he's actually doing. Will I ever be an Elon Musk? Probably not. But he's a hero of mine. A mentor is someone, and the guy I was talking to you about, Daniel, who has the helipad that he's not sure how he's going to get to yet. He is a mentor. I don't pay him. I don't pay the mentor, but he'll be like, look, Derrick, I see that you're doing this. Have you ever thought about this? And there's a reason why he's got a couple of dozen acres of property, a private plane, runway, helipad, mansion, because he's succeeded in life. And then a coach is someone that you pay to come in and get nitty gritty with you and actually look at your numbers, to maybe take a peek at your P&L, to look at your balance sheet, maybe to see the accounts that you have set up and where your money's being funneled to, because you should have more than just one account, as far as your banking goes, and not just do what's called checkbook accounting, which
So you
far
check
too
your
many
book
people
and
do
see
that.
how much money you have in there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
So
just
so
my
I
take on it. I hope that's right.
so do you suggest other people who are looking to grow their business have someone that's in all three of those categories?
Absolutely. Every single one of them. And your business mentor could be your coach. Your coach could be your business mentor. It could be any. They could all be the same person. It helps to have them be kind of different people, to give you kind of some different points of view. But if it's just you, you don't know what you don't know. So listening to podcasts like this one has helped me a lot. I read books, listen to audiobooks mostly, and try to get get awesome people around me, people that can stretch me and be like, I need to get off my ass and start doing more because
Yeah.
Daniel's got a helipad.
And you're like, I have a yacht, but I don't have a helipad on my yacht. Maybe I
I
need to
do
up
not.
my game a little bit.
Uh,
It always cracks me up when you see those mega yachts and like those yachts they have a yacht in the yacht. There's like a garage for their yacht inside their yacht, and I'm like, that seems
I've
redundant, but also awesome.
I've parked next to that guy.
You park next to that guy.
I've parked next to that guy. So I was anchored, one place, and this huge yacht came in. I think it was like 150 foot. It had a helipad, and its dinghy, which is the boat that takes you from your boat to land, was like an actual boat, like what most people have to go to the
Like
lake or whatnot.
they trailer and take home with them, like it was a real
Right.
boat.
Yeah, it was that side. It was like 22 feet. I'm like, that's just a little bit shorter than the house that I live on, the boat that I live
On
on.
your yacht.
You know,
You're like,
yeah.
his dinghy is almost as big as my yacht. That's when you know you're doing something different. So
Yes.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about your guiding principles then, right? One of the things that makes heroes heroic is that they live by a code. For instance, Batman never kills his enemies, he only ever puts them in Arkham Asylum. So as we wrap up this interview, I want to talk about the top one or two principles that you live your life by. Maybe something you'd wish you had known when you started out your own entrepreneurial journey all those years ago.
Hmm. That's a tough one. So guiding principles, something that I always try to do is to improve myself, to always try to be a better me. And sometimes that leads to stress, but these are principles that you're trying to do. Um, so always try to be a better person. Always have goals that you can't reach, like goals
Or you
that are
don't know how to reach
so.
yet.
Yeah, well, goals that are so big that you go like, I don't have a clue. And maybe you working on that goal, and 10 years later it's like, I don't know. And then guiding principles is like, have somebody that can help you out. And this is something that I had to learn recently, is about one of the biggest miracles. You can be a driver, you can be a go getter, you can build a $1 billion company, but if you don't take the self care, seems like you and I both have the problem with that, because I had to go to the I had to go to the hospital twice because I was working so hard. So I don't know who said this, but I'm trying my best and have been to implement this in my life. And it goes like this. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment and living your life fully. I hope I didn't butcher that.
I like that. Because the only thing we ever have is the present, right? Because we're traveling through time, and we're not in the past and we're not in the future, and like, but we like to live in one of those two places, right? Remembering things in the past and like deciding, letting those decide our current decisions, or looking at the future. And sometimes it's really hard to just be present here and now, right? And I think personally, for myself, one of the best things that have ever helped me be present was having kids, because they don't give a shit about your past and they're not looking at your future. They just want you to play their laser tag game with them right now. They want you to be present, and it forces you to work that muscle. So, anyways, that's always, I think that's been a big help for me, is just being a dad.
Yeah. And that's a big one for everybody with kids. You're too, I see, and I'm guilty. I am guilty of being on my phone when I should be playing with my kids. Um, I'm guilty.
I think
So
we all are. Though my hack for that has been figuring out, and I think we've all played this game, our families have this, is having a game on the phone that you can play together.
yeah, yeah, it helps.
It helps, and you're like,
Something the
oh, there
whole
we go.
family strives for.
Something the whole family strives for. And yeah, ours is like, between your family and mine, it's this monkey game. It's a tower defense game that we all play together. And speaking of, I've got a map on that game that I just can't beat. So I'll send it over to you. You can tell me if you can figure out how to beat it. uh,
We'll beat it. We'll beat it
so
as a team.
I think that's a wrap on our interview, but I do finish every interview with a simple challenge that I call the Heroes Challenge. And I do this to help get access to stories I won't be able to find on my own, right? Because not everyone is out doing the podcast rounds like you and I do. So the question is, do you have someone in your life or in your network that has a cool entrepreneurial story? Who are they? First names are fine. And why do you think they should come share their story with us here on the Hero Show? First
Okay.
person that comes to mind for you.
Mark, Mark, he is another mentor of mine. He's been a mentor of mine from a distance. He's built a large swimming pool business in the commercial side of it, whereas I stayed on the backyard side of it. But he's built a large multi-state business, and he really helped me uh, figure out some of the finances in the later part of my business. So he would be really good. His name is Mark. What was the other
Yeah, cool,
questions you had
cool.
about him?
No, I was just, we'll reach out later and see if we can get him to come on the show. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they don't, but we get really cool stories out of it when we get guests who are, not regular podcasters, unique stories, so to speak. So in comic books, there's always the crowd of people who are clapping and cheering with their for the acts of heroism at the end. And our analogous to that as we close is, where can people find you if they're interested in getting your help in growing their service-based business or their retail space? Where can they light up the bat signal, so to speak, and say, hey, Derrick, I'd love to get your help doing this? And then the second part of that question is, who are the right types of people to reach out and ask for your help?
All right. Well, the best place to reach me if you actually want my help is to go to aquanutacademy.com. And my email address is Derrick at aquanutacademy.com. And you can probably put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So they spelled Derrick right. I didn't know there was so many ways to spell Derrick. Actually, I did, but Highlander, there could be only one, and it's mine.
Everyone else is wrong.
Everybody else is wrong. And who are the right? Oh, and if people just want to see me from a distance, well, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. What is the new one? TikTok. I'm on all of those. But if they really want to get me, then email me and we can chat. And who are the right people to work with me? If they are a smaller company, a chuck in a truck, then they're probably going to want to do the video course that I am working on. I'm probably about halfway, three quarters of the way through it. That will be up on Aquanut Academy, hopefully sooner than later. And people that want to work with me one-on-one, they're probably going to be people that already have a business, that maybe they're doing a couple $100,000 per year, and they're just working working like a dog. They feel trapped, and they want the business to work for them instead of them to work for their business, because they've probably already built up a good business. And trust me, I felt trapped. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be like a rat in this cage, and you just want to get out. Those are probably the right people that will work with me. And it doesn't just have to be the swimming pool industry. It could be a landscaper, lawn care company. Business is business, and the service industry, whether it be pools or HVAC, is not that much different when you're talking about the business side of it. I might not be able to tell you how to install a HVAC unit, but that's not why you're hiring me. You already know how to do that. People aren't hiring me to tell them how to put in a swimming pool pump. They already know how to do that. They want to learn
how to build a seven-figure service business and sell it and buy a yacht and travel around. That's what they want to know how to do.
That's it.
So thank you so much for coming on my show today, Derrick. It has been great to get to hear your story from this perspective. I know I've known your story for a long time, but it's cool to have you on and have it share it with my audience. So thank you for that. Do you have any final words of wisdom for my people before we hit this stop record button and say goodbye?
No, subscribe to the podcast. Whatever that means, hit whatever button that is and subscribe to the podcast. Listen to Richard. He's got some really, really good shows on. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day,
Thank you.
Derrick.